May the 4th be with you. It's lichess and Twitch. Sparkle Horse is my name on lichess. On Twitch, we're Slaggy. We're streaming every day, Monday to Friday, 10 to 12:30 Central European Time. And Sundays, I usually do a simul at 18:30 or 6:30 p.m. here on lichess. Last night I had a strange dream that I was getting invited to some tournament in Spain, but I don't have any connection to Spain at the moment, so it's kind of weird. I had this dream like right before I woke up. Maybe because I'm playing in some other tournaments, and I started thinking about traveling to tournaments. But constant changes here. A lot of our regular viewers, World Loser, Blue Crow, our moderator, Mule Skinner. Welcome everybody. We've got a bunch of strong players lined up to play already. The average challenger is like 2,200. But I just wanted to let you guys know that in a little under 2 weeks, I'm going to be going away to Zalakaros for over a week. So we will not be streaming between the 17th and like 26th of next month. Very strong tournament I'm playing in. Actually, constant changer from India. There's a lot of Indian players who are registered to play in that tournament. Very, very strong tournament. Average rating like around 2,400 for an open here in Hungary. So I'm excited to go to that. And also the following month, I might be playing in a tournament here in Lake Balaton. So I've got some scheduled tournaments coming up. In July, we're going to be going to the States and streaming at a different time. A later time, basically. Am I saying later time? Yeah, is that right? Probably a later time. That would later or earlier, depending on how you look at it. We'll be changing the schedule from July, basically. DST, I hope I win all my games too, but I think it's unlikely. I just hope that I play like, an average field of like 2,600 or something. That'd be awesome. If I do play a field that strong, it would be like guaranteed I'd be playing well. So World Loser, Aldisto, Constant Change, SXPG, Mule Skinner, Blue Crow, all of you guys, and Blue Crow's challenging me Chess 960. All you guys are regulars. Akram 4, I'm not sure if I played one game against them or not. Probably not. Pretty strong player challenging me down the line there. You guys have to wait in the queue, and it does take a while for me to get to all the challenges. World Loser, we play a fairly long game. I mean, it's 8+3. It could last theoretically 20 minutes. World Loser, sorry you can't come to Zalakaros. I haven't really checked the entry list. Last year there was a whole bunch of players from Poland. I did glance over the list of players. I didn't see as many Polish players as played last year. Okay. We're going to play something aggressive here. I've been playing a lot of Dimzo, Bogo Indian, Queen's Indian type of stuff, but I really feel that one of my weaknesses is that I need to play more combatively, not just in chess and poker too. Get a little bit too conservative, and it's hard to win. The other thing is I wonder if when we get older we don't tend to get more fearful. Yeah, Mule Skinner, it's a really, really good tournament. I mean, the Grandmaster result, the Grandmaster norm result is easier to achieve in a Swiss system, I think. The problem with some tournaments is that they let a lot of lower-rated players in, and the nice thing about Zalakaros is that they really don't allow anyone under 2150 or so into the field, which is rare nowadays. Okay, Samish Kings Indian World Loser. I don't remember if we played this before. I had a game with someone maybe like 2 months ago in the Samish Gambit. One of my only criticisms of World Loser is that he needs to work on his opening theory a little bit more deeply. I have high standards. I mean, as an international master, I mean, I'm expecting a lot from people, but I really think that World Loser has a lot of talent, and I would say one of his only weaknesses, he plays a lot of sharp lines, but But if you play these very, very sharp lines, he plays like the Najdorf, and for example here, going into this gambit line, it's a dangerous line. We did play this before, according to him. Okay, I didn't recall it was against you. I don't think 92 is the main line. I mean, a5 is definitely possible, but I don't think I want to play that here. It might work, though. a5, knight d5, take, take, knight b4 looks pretty good for black. And then the more tame continuation like b6. I'm criticizing him, but I'm really like criticizing myself. You know, I'm seeing my own weaknesses in World Loser. Need to study more opening theory. Oftentimes we reflect our own fears when we criticize or judge other people, and I think I'm kind of talking about myself a little bit, seeing my own flaws when I criticize others. I should know more theory here. But it's been a long time since I looked at this. And to be honest, like most people are afraid to go into the accepted variation of this pawn. Sacrifice. And the third thing is that knight g2 is a fairly rare move. Anyway. Unfortunately, I'm going to chicken out. a5 still on the table. b6 didn't hurt me. I mean, it does weaken my structure a little bit, but I have squares for my pieces. Maybe it does hurt me in a way. It does defend b2, so there's some variation. Like if I played a5 now, he could. What could he do? He could play rook d1, I guess. I probably played something like bishop b7 last time. I don't remember. Something kind of bishop a6 maybe. I'm not sure what the best move is here. Now I've got a problem because I don't have any play against that b3 pawn. Oh dear. We could have a problem. I played a5 and knight b4 last time, according to World Loser. Which I like a little bit better, I guess. Now my bishop looks stupid on b7. I have to waste time to play a5. I didn't honestly think that b3 was even possible with the weakness of the long diagonal here. Okay, he's got some issues, so it's not so easy for him to unravel this position. Knight c5, b4. I don't understand how he can play so fast. Knight c5, b4. No, that doesn't work. I have knight d3 check there. The bishop on a6 looks misplaced. He's 4 minutes ahead of me on time now. Sundays I do a simul. It's a long time control, 40-40. Yeah, this blitz classical time control, these games are maximum of 20 minutes apiece. Now, hold on a second here. I can take on d5. World Loser, don't give me more time, dude. What are you doing? You know I don't like that. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes c5. Dude, I can't afford to make the game like 40 minutes long. Other people are waiting to play. So please don't give me more time, guys. I resigned against Nabil for doing that, World Loser. But I had asked him not to do it already when he kept doing it. Knight c7. I don't understand what World Loser's doing. Isn't his knight kind of off track here? Alright, check. Check. We get out of the fork, and his king is in a pretty dubious situation here. What about mates? Knight b4, knight takes a6, knight takes a2 check. It's not quite mate, but it does look pretty interesting. I'm thinking like knight to b4, knight takes a6. I mean, I think it's just simpler. This knight is almost trapped. Now he has like only one move. I also have an interesting move here. It doesn't quite work. It looks like rook d3. There's also bishop ace h6 check. The white king is in some danger. But maybe now bishop h6. Bishop h6 is becoming a serious threat. Mule Skinner would like to attend the simulcast at that hour. Yeah, it's like a 3-hour game. Gives more time to make the game longer. Normally this doesn't happen, but okay, now bishop h6 check. It's not my only move. Also like knight a2 check. Problem with knight a2 check is king c2, and I don't know how to get in there. So we have a lot of candidate moves here. I don't think we can go wrong with this move. All of our pieces are working. There is knight e1 check. Knight e1 check, king c1, bishop h6. I was also thinking of sacking my piece. Knight f2, rook g1, knight takes e4, pawn takes e4, bishop takes e4 check, king c1, bishop h6 check. Darn. If I sack a piece, Bishop h6 check. King b2, rook b1 check. King a2. Rook b2. There's no mate. Just try to gain a little bit of time on the clock, as they say. Does this do anything? Well, there is bishop h6 check. King c1, bishop h6 check, king b2, rook d2 check, king b1. But then what, you know? I feel like the line where I sack my knight on e4 should win by force, but I just see his king walking into a2. Why is that enough? Hold on a second here. It's my first game of the day, kind of confusing. f5 for black is tempting, but I think it's a little on the slower side. But it's probably good. It's probably good. F5 if nothing else. I guess black is clearly better here, maybe winning, but I have to play precisely. Pawn isn't there anymore. What? Alright. Bishop h6. f4, bishop takes pawn. That looks pretty strong. Bishop h6, king b2. We can get on the 7th rank. As you can see, this is why a lot of people don't really like playing this variation with white, because you oftentimes kind of lose the initiative in exchange for a pawn. This is a very bad version for white. Knight on e2 I think isn't really a normal move. But for World Loser, I think it's a strange choice, given that he's not really theoretically minded. And I think he's better with, like most players, kind of better with the initiative. I'd prefer to have the initiative and control of the game than to take a pawn and be on the defensive. But this is really like extreme. I mean, I think white is lost here. It's a matter of I'm awake enough to see a forced win. I'm a little bit groggy. Haven't finished my coffee yet, and I'm not calculating that well. I don't calculate as well in the stream as I do like at the board, you know, squeezing my head in my hands and like concentrating like crazy. But I think this is winning. F5 could be a useful resource. King b1. We have all sorts of possibilities here. I think knight d3 is interesting too. Knight takes g2. Knight takes g2 ain't bad, probably. I get kind of nervous when my flag is hanging, like everybody. Now this knight is really far out of the game. But still, there's no immediate win. As usual, I'm down to like 0 time. I just don't know how to see how to win. I have to be winning here. I don't understand how he's so fast. I say this every day, but managed to save this position. It's unbelievable. I could not see a clear win. Even with the extra time he gave me, I have a win here. Kind of hard to find it though, and his a-pawn's running down. I had mate in 2. Oh my god. What? Oh man, no wonder. Alright, anyway, mate in 2. Rook d1, rook a1. I did not see that. That's about as easy as it gets. Yeah, I was just totally winning. Bishop takes b5. Did not see the mate on a1. Alright, world loser. Anyway, I'm a little too slow. We know that already. Alright. Let's see. Aldisto. We play e4. Damn. I wasn't looking for that mate. I was all the time like trying to set up a mate on the back rank, keeping him cut off on the 7th. And that's terrible. Alright, so in the final position there was nothing I could do, but with 7 seconds left. But mate in 2 is mate in 2. I wasted too much time to get there, and then I missed it, and then I wasn't winning anymore. Just slightly better at the final position. So, Paulson defense, variation of the Sicilian. Anyway, I think we both need to study that line a little bit more deeply. I have a general idea of what I'm doing, though. I wasn't really happy after I played bishop a6, though. I have a feeling that that's not a great move for me. I should take a look at that. But we've got a lot of challenges. Actually, not so many today. Constant Change, SXPG, Mule Skinner, Plukro, Akram. All the time I was looking for a different mate, you know. Cutting the 7th rank squares with my bishop and knight and like mating him on a1 with his king on like c1. That's odd though, you know. I mean, I was looking for rook a1 mate, but I was looking for his king going the other way. Why I didn't see it. I tend to usually see mate in 2s. I was feeling the pressure from the clock. Anyway, so Aldisto and I had a game like this the other day, or 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. A week ago. And I think I played knight takes c6 here. I personally think that black's setup is a little bit risky. But it's a matter of taste, I guess. I would have resigned before you play that check by seeing the mate. I just never looked at variations with him, you know, mating him on a2 for some reason. I wanted to get my rook to a1, but with his king on c1, not with his king on a2. Alright, and that was with the extra time. I still didn't find mate. I guess I need to play more blitz again. I've been doing tactics problems and so forth. I feel like I'm pretty good tactically. I'm not fast enough. H5. I can do the old knight d5 type of trick here. Unfortunately, knight d5, pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5. He has knight e5. Feels like that should be good for me. Yeah, I can just play f4 there, okay? Just play f4. It's kind of a sharp position, but so we can play knight d5. It appears. Would appear playable. You would have saved some time for the other players. At the end, it's sort of ridiculous. I have to make a draw because I'm about to lose on time. I guess there was a way for me to play on, but I didn't want to risk losing, having just like 3 seconds of move. If I was playing more like blitz, I would probably be more comfortable. But lately, in the last couple of weeks, I've been really busy and I haven't been playing any kind of sudden death blitz or really fast time controls. And it just seems like you got to kind of be in the mood for it. I don't play bullet chess, and if I'm not playing some 3 or 5-0, it seems like my timing gets really slow, and I also get more nervous than I normally would. But generally, the opening was a success. I don't think bishop a6 was a good move. Sometimes it is. It's tricky. You know, when you play that variation for black, there are a whole bunch of different variations that look very similar to each other. Sometimes bishop a6 is good. Sometimes a5. Sometimes you're supposed to do like just b6, knight bd7, b6, bishop b7. And the other problem, as I mentioned, is that although it's like a really critical variation, white taking that pawn on c5, most strong players that I've encountered prefer not to take the pawn. So there's all this theory, but most people don't go into it, you know, because they're just like practical and don't want to lose the initiative. So I'm mostly like the weaker players I play tend to like go into that accepted variation. Stronger players tend to decline, including myself, because I've occasionally played the same-ish with white, with bishop e3, not too often. Mostly I play bishop g5 when I'm white. Alright, so queen d8. He decided he didn't like maybe the queen on b8 and stuff like bishop f4. So knight f5, anyone? Bishop f4. Bishop f4 is a very kind of macho move, but he could even play just like rook c8 here. I think I have to be careful not to get carried away. Normally Aldisto seems of the solid variety, but this system he's playing, I mean, I'm not really sure about h5. It's an idea, but it seems very early and risky. Not sure if Gata would play that way. I think of players who play the Sicilian with e6 as usually the solid type, you know, Svidler, Gata Kamsky, people like that. They want to be aggressive but without going over the top. These e6 solid Sicilian guys. But I don't see Gata playing h5. Okay, so knight takes c6 looks kind of lifeless. If he's taking on d5, we get a piece back. So he's actually not not threatening anything here directly. But bishop f4, rook c8, or bishop f4, d6. We could play a4, trying to weaken the queen side here. Maybe. Is an idea. I just don't have that many ways to try to make progress. b3, but it looks interesting, actually. I didn't consider b3. It does look a little slow. I mean, you have to admit that my bishop is on a good diagonal where it is. But b3, bishop b2 is an interesting idea. It's a little weakening b3 on the dark squares too, but I'm not sure he's in any situation to really exploit it. So I would say, yeah, Mule Skinner, I mean b3 is an interesting move. I just played a4 on general principles. I'm running out of ways to open the position. Okay, now knight f6, bishop g5. Bishop g5 looks thematic, as they say, right? Just developing aggressively. The fact that he's played h5 doesn't really help him here. All my pieces are as active as they can be. Even the rook on a1 is participating in some way. So bishop on g2. This is usually a bad piece in this kind of structure. Taking on e7 and playing e5. Move order is the issue. Knight takes c6, takes on e7 and e5, right? Maybe my knight is trapped. My knight is trapped on e7, but when I'm black in these type of positions, I don't play this exact opening, but I prefer a kind of conservative sort of setup, you know, with knight f6, d6. Although I also try to omit a6. We're talking about a different setup altogether. You can play like a standard Scheveningen or Scheveningen type of setup. Although Aldis's b5 is okay, I think. He just has to be careful. Oh, I understand now. Right. But the move order is bad. Oh, hold on a second now. Oh, it didn't matter? Can you take on g2 here? But it wouldn't have mattered, or would have mattered actually. You have to take on g2 first. And then when I take on f6, you take back on f6. So if you take on g2 first, I think I have a trick. Well, that's crazy. Like, bishop takes g2, king takes g2, queen c5, queen f3. But there he can, that works. His rook's hanging, so he has to do something about it. Which means like castles, and then I have time for, no, then b4, queen d5. I think that might save you, Aldisto. But here I have b4. That's the difference. That might save him, you know, if he makes the exchange on g2 first. This decoy, I think the decoy just wins. Decoy hunter. We've had our fair share of tactical games so far in the first two. Yeah, we're going to win a piece here. Now, which way to go? Should we take on g2? Better to take on f6. Kind of hard to call. If I take on c6, it's interesting actually. Maybe I should take on c6. His king is dead, I think. It's not just that he's down a piece, but he's got bad king. I just want to see what the theory says. Yeah, so h5 is not really a move. It's too slow. d6 has a good score. It looks like bishop e7, or actually bishop c5, or knight e5. This is kind of a risky line for black, though. a4 is best. I should just take on b5, apparently. But I was concerned he can save himself here. He doesn't have this. Okay, so the point is I can just take on g7. Rook g8. That's kind of tricky. It's not that obvious. So he doesn't lose a piece. He doesn't lose a piece. It's kind of like a semi-Slav or something. It looks like a Botvinnik variation. Yeah, he actually avoids losing the piece here. Queen d5. And I'm just winning because of the nature of this pawn and the dark square weaknesses. This pawn. That happens sometimes in the Velimirovich Sicilian. Alright. Constant Change is up next. What am I playing against him, by the way? We have not played, I don't know if we played this against Constant Change. I thought he was playing, now I don't remember. It's been a long time. I played mostly d4, c4 type of stuff against the Constant Change. This is good. I want to be able to play e4 in tournament play. Well, this means we don't have to play the Marshall, which is nice. I have had a couple Marshall games that weren't very impressive here. If I'm going to play e4 against someone in a tournament game, if I have time to prepare, let's play d4. I don't really play this variation, but I've seen it quite a bit lately. Seems like it's what was it, Kamsky I saw play this recently? Off and on, this line has been popular for white, kind of avoiding the main lines. And I think a lot of people with black don't know it as well as the traditional main lines. Baku's. Excessive use of caps. It's not too serious an offense. Guys, welcome to my channel, International Master William Paschall. We're streaming from Budapest, Hungary. Beautiful weather here today for a change. We're going to be finishing up promptly at 12:30 today. I've got a busy schedule this afternoon, so ambulance is on the way for my next victim. I guess this is standard. I'm not sure how this knight ends up in this type of position. Is it good? Is it ultimately headed for a kind of inactive home on b6? But I don't think we're a loser. That taking risks is fine, but you have to choose your spots, you know. And maybe that gambit line isn't a good practical decision. Black's score is probably very, very good there. Maybe you should choose to take your risks later on in the game. But I suppose, I remember watching a very strong player once playing white in that line against a friend of mine. His king actually got sucked out to like h4. It wasn't, you know, really a fun experience in that same-ish King's Indian. We're talking about a strong player who was like almost 2,500 US. If that guy can get his king sucked out to h4, I mean, an IM strength player in that same-ish pawn sacrifice accepted line. So last year, my teammate Zoltan Varga was getting dragged around in that too because he didn't know what he was doing. You really got to know what you're doing. Alright, so maybe I should play h3, but if I do it right away, I guess I'm really losing a pawn here. This exchange I don't like. But he might have an idea. Let's give him a chance here. In general, I don't like it, but he maybe has a concrete idea for it. In general, black loses the white squares. If I play rook d1, I take the open file, but the knight on c4 is pretty annoying. If bishop d3, knight d6, I guess he's going to go to. Possibly b6. Bishop b3. Bishop d3. Then I'm going to end up losing a tempo later on. a4, anyone? I talk about this d5 square recently, talked about in one of my videos, and it's a very important point in the Ruy Lopez. In his really good series, The Middle Game, world champion Uwe gives a game, an historic game where Alekhine won very beautifully in this kind of structure. Getting a knight to d5, and then black taking on d5 with a knight, and then opening up like this play for white along this diagonal here. There are some technical problems though. b3, for example, weakens my structure quite a bit, which I'm not that thrilled about. It's probably the lesser of the evils though. b3, knight b6, knight d2. So that my dark squares, you know, it feels like the dark squares get a little bit weakened. But I mean, I don't want to play mechanically here with white, like rook d1. I don't think there's anything really going on for me. On that file. Complex position, let's say. Very complex position. Actually, despite me having the bishop pair, my bishop is kind of restricted. So you could make an argument that black is okay here, despite the fact that I have the so-called bishop pair. It's not the ideal position for the bishop pair. It's a symmetrical structure where it's hard to make a passed pawn. No imbalance. My one bishop is relatively bad. His bishop is bad too, which is a factor. Yeah, queen e2 with knight d2 plan, but I don't want to trade. I didn't really want to trade knights in this position. I mean, his knight is. The c4 is a really strong move. I think this is best. And my plan was to take. So at least this way we both have an isolated pawn. No one has per se a better structure. I feel like this is better than the previous position for me. You know, okay, I had to trade knights, but now at least there's some more. You might call this more imbalance. I think these pawns are a little bit vulnerable. So again, highly technical position though. Everything's protected for me. Bishop on c2. It needs to improve. We can tie him down. Try to tie him down to the weakness. Weaknesses. I mean, he's got 3 pawns that can be attacked fairly easily here. thinking, should I attack that e5 pawn maybe? I mean, queen f5. Ultimately, trying to stay as active as I can. Queen e2 is a reflexive move, but queen c7, and then what? What have I achieved, basically? Randomly grabbing open files. Maybe rook b1. Rook b1, queen a5, a4. That's another good square for his queen on a5. I guess an argument for queen e2 is that it does keep one of his pieces tied down. Whatever one it might be. Not a very dynamic move, though. You really want a very strong technical player for this position. And even then, I think that black is just okay. What about something like bishop g5? There's certain things you want to avoid in this position. Black playing extremely well. I think we've got to avoid knight versus bad bishop. So I'm really on my way to like achieving that ending. It looks like I'm trying to actually get knight versus bad bishop. Opposite color bishops would be drawish, obviously. Why did I play bishop g5? I didn't see a good move for black, per se, and I wanted to connect my rooks. Bishop e3 just, actually bishop e3 might have been better. But I don't think I really have an advantage here. He played this really well. My only hope, would be that later on, maybe later on in the ending, maybe my bishops become good. Not sure what I'm up to here. Rook takes rook, rook takes rook, rook b1. Trading into that ending doesn't seem very positive for me. I don't want to lose control of the open file. I could trade rooks and play bishop back to c1. That's not very good. So I don't really know what I'm doing here. I basically have no plan. No advantage. He's played this perfectly. I just don't know what to do. And what I was thinking here, like bishop h4. Try to attack his pawn on e5. This was a vague plan when I played bishop g5 in the first place. But my only thoughts are I'm keeping him tied down to e5 and c4. But I have no forward plan myself, and I'm not that certain that my bishop on g3 is even in a good place. Rook b5. Okay, rook b5, I'm pretty neutral on that move. I was prepared to play a4. It restricts my bishop a little bit more, but it could be a dangerous pawn. If his a pawn were to fall or something, It's a draw. I mean, with best play for both sides, the position is equal. If you want to call it a draw, you can call it a draw. Call it what you want, man. I mean, with two strong computers or people playing this position, it's equal, and it should be a draw. Like, neither side should really lose this position. That's just... A lot of people refuse to accept draws in chess, but the bottom line is that if you're a good player and you're white, you shouldn't lose. And if you're a good player in this position and you're black, you shouldn't lose. So, you know, with the power of deduction, you can figure out that the correct result of this position is probably a draw. And that's just a fact. You know, I mean, if I'm a great player, he's a great player, neither of us should lose. That's just the only way to think about it. I mean, so rook c5. This is pretty bizarre. You have to admit. He's overprotecting his c4 pawn, but giving me the b file. I can't say I'm a big fan of that move. Yeah, why don't we take this opportunity to rook c5 looks strange. Apparently he had an idea. Now his rook is extremely awkward. It's getting in the way of his other pieces. What am I doing? I need to protect d2. Mm-hmm. Getting down to the nitty-gritty now. The nitty-gritty. Gritty. The rook on the 7th is nice. Black has some tactics. Opposite color bishops are definitely likely here. But opposite color bishops positions get very sharp. Both sides attacking on their own color. Constant change. I wonder if he has internet issues. He's just really thinking. He was really thinking. Okay. Ooh, I'm lucky I won a pawn there. Not sure if I should play h5 or not. break through? Oh. Okay, I think that actually, ironically, constant change got himself lost on time, which is very rarely happening. This is really still okay. Apparently this is all main line. And I'm not supposed to take on c5. This is not enough for white. b3, knight b6, and then actually it's the same position. Well, and constant change instantly played this move. So he has to. He's going to lose a pawn. I was criticizing him, but he had no choice. I never played this line, so I don't even know. Apparently this is all book. This is the game? But isn't this the game position? Right, it's a transposition. So, I just don't think that white has anything here. Yeah, c4 is the main move. It's all theory. So apparently people play knight f1, but I didn't know if I should let myself be backward along the c file. Yeah, it's just a couple games here. It's not really an advantage to white. So at the end, constant change before the ending, the end before the end, I think objectively my advantage is like tiny here. Yeah, this position you can play queen f8. I think he missed this for some reason. And I don't think it's very serious. I had mate. I actually overlooked mate here. Both our flags were hanging. Alright guys, a little bit marred by time pressure there. I've missed a mate in 2 and a mate in 2. Mate in 3, 4 actually. Alright. SXPG. When people trade queens like that, I just tend to believe them. Let's try to play something a little more positional. Erling Mortensen played this as bad. Okay. Well, no, it looks to be standard Mule Skinner. Yeah, Mortensen is a strong IM. Maybe did he ever get the GM title? Okay. So SXPG. I think it's a kind of simple line for white, you know, that avoids most of the more theoretical discussion in the main lines. It's a neo Grunfeld or symmetrical English or King's Indian. We'll see what happens here. I misread. What's that? What did I misread? Knight takes e4 was expected. Yeah. That's what I expected, of course. What did I misread, Plucro? Let me know. Symmetrical English. I wasn't sure what you meant, Plucro. You meant Mule Skinner said it can't be bad. Yeah, it's definitely not bad. Did I misread what he said? Mule Skinner said what? Erling Mortensen played this as black. Can't be bad. But I understood that. He's a solid player. But I didn't realize it was like the main line. Actually, pretty boring position. But what am I supposed to do, like, differently? I have no idea. Okay, mainline symmetrical English. This is hard for White to prove anything here against a really well-prepared player. It's okay, Plucro. I didn't understand, neither did you. I guess I'm alright. But anyway, talking about the end of that game, of course I saw knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, bishop takes h4. But I think I have a little like initiative on the white squares in the opposite colored bishop type of position. So I was actually expecting knight takes e4, but in a way kind of hoping he would go for that. I thought that the best defense was like just, you know, what he did in the game, but queen f8, and it's a draw probably. But he played strangely with rook c5. You know, I mean, I think he was trying to win, but he got his pieces kind of a little bit tangled up, giving me a slight edge where it wasn't. Prior to that, I don't think I had any advantage at all, you know? I mean, I never really should have had any advantage in that position. It should have been like equal all the way. But I had no plan, and I was flirting with the exchange of dark squared bishops with bishop g5, and it's not a good thing. I don't really want to exchange bishops, but I couldn't think of a better move. The problem with my position is that I really need a knight on the board to like go to d5, you know, and without a knight on the board, well, SXPG, I think that's that's got to be like one of the most creative moves I've ever seen. I wonder if this is a theoretical novelty. You know, if I had a pawn on e4, I'd be in trouble right now. I've never seen anyone like voluntarily put their knight in the air like that with knight e4. Really neat idea, man. Wow. Why not, right? Knight takes c6, knight takes c3, knight takes d8, knight takes d1. I mean, at the end of the day, though, I'm moving first. Knight takes c6, knight takes c3, knight takes d8, knight takes d1, knight takes b7, knight takes b2. It's really funny. I could also try knight takes c6, knight takes c3, knight takes e7, check, queen takes e7, b takes c, bishop takes c3, rook b1. And white seems better there because I have very good control of the d file, pressure along the b line. That actually looks kind of unpleasant for black, I would think. So we'll consider knight takes c6 and knight takes e7. While looking for better. I don't know if anyone's ever been crazy enough to play knight e4. Knight g4 SXPG is actually one of the main lines. And now knight takes d8, knight takes d1. Okay, we also have knight takes f7. But it's kind of weird in that it doesn't threaten anything. I don't think I can really do that. So knight takes d8, knight takes d1, knight takes b7, knight takes b2. I have a pawn on c4. He doesn't have a pawn on c5. And my c4 pawn's hanging at the end there. And that's kind of weird. All right, whatever, man. I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna play this because I think structurally, he's gonna get his pawn back, but structurally he's worse, and developmentally he's worse, and also his king position, although it's not a huge factor, actually has. It's true I have two isolated pawns here. So if we're really being purists about this, I guess, you could make an argument that I have two isolanis, he's got one. But this square is really important, as it was last game against Constant Change. If you've studied, I highly recommend Botvinnik's 100 selected, or what is it? 100 selected games, I think. If you've studied Botvinnik playing the English with white, he loved this square. There was one brilliant game, I don't remember who it was against. He had like doubled pawns on c3 and c4, but won the game because of basically fantastic control of d5. Knight takes d8, knight takes d1, knight takes b7, knight takes b2, rook b1. But I mean, rook b1. Well, he's got... You're saying I have some discovery winning the exchange at the end of the day or something? Possible. I was worried my c4 pawn was dropping. We'll take a look after the game. It should be good for white. This is good for white. That might be good for white too. Okay, so... now what? Bishop f4, bishop e5. I analyzed that pretty much like right out of the gate. And it doesn't look like enough. Queen b3 is interesting. Dropping my e2 pawn in a lot of lines. You got to play strategically here. Maybe we just trade his dark square bishop. We could play rook b3 though. Alright, it is a blitz game. No, it's 7+3. Wow, we used so much time, I thought it was 5-0. This move's pretty interesting. Various possibilities. Rook coming across, bishop a3, just doubling along the file could be useful. White stands better here, but it's not clearly over until that move. I don't know what to recommend though. What should he play here? Bishop e5. If bishop e5, maybe. Now I have bishop a3, I just win the exchange. Kind of a cheapo. The problem is that bishop e5, what, f4? Queen c5 check. Bishop e3. This rook saving the day again. Bishop e5, f4, then bishop d6, I guess. And it seems like he's hanging on. Although the long diagonal looks a little creepy. White's going to have to be very accurate. The jury is still out on this. I think that he could have held on, probably. It's not over, but winning the clear exchange should be pretty impossible for black to hold on here. In the long run. I can't beat him immediately. Well, bishop f4 didn't really do anything. I mean, he just plays bishop e5, which is where he should go anyway. But with rook b3, I have a lot of options. I mean, we can double, triple on the d file. We can double, triple on the b file. Bishop a3. Bishop f4, bishop e5. That's what he wants to do anyway. Guys, we're streaming till 12:30 today. Then we're out of here. Is somebody else streaming right now? We only have 48 viewers, and usually we have more. Looks like we must have competition or something. 42 seconds left. Guys, don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. I upload the streams. Also, we do some independent videos once a week or so. Played Queen E8. It's kind of a weird move. Now we can actually drive him away. Torture black a little bit here. Almost trapping his queen. Okay, that's a handy move. I like that. Spirited response. We are picking off another pawn. Bishop e5, good move though. In a difficult situation. But SXPG, you moved to the wrong square. Probably knight g4, not knight e4 is best. And now here, right. Rook is hanging. Queen b1. If you think a little, spend a little time, you find a good move. He fell for it. The secret point. I'm curious about this. Has anyone ever played 94? Well, I mean, I don't think a master is going to be playing it. If we find some crazy guy played it against Garcia Palermo. So I guess Plucro had worked out this line. I'm supposed to take on d8. It's not clear. The computer is not sure. It likes my line better. It's about the same. Let's see. Knight takes d8, knight takes d1, knight takes b7. This is the game. Yeah, maybe he should play bishop takes b7 here. Well, he's just going to be down a clear pawn though, isn't he? Bishop takes b7, rook takes d1. Black's just down a clear pawn in that line. But I think Plucro was talking about something like this. Oh, we're just taking here? Bishop takes. Okay, this is the game Garcia Palermo played, but what I failed to understand was this idea of trapping the exchange. Okay. So basically you win the exchange. That's probably better and more convincing than what I did. Yeah. E6. This is their game. Anyway, I don't recommend that for black. Arsenal fan Richie, what's up? Alright, let's see. Nobody else is streaming. We don't have very many viewers today, guys. Just 43. And it's already 11:20. Where is everybody? I thought Chess Bra was streaming or something. Why are there only 40-something? Alright, guys, let's continue. It's Mule Skinner, Plucro, Akram, and Godlike moves. Alright, Mule Skinner. I just enjoy our battles in the Panov. But yeah, it looks like Plucro, your variation works better. Now it's interesting, one of my students recently started to take up the Scandinavian, and he asked me, the knight f6 Scandinavian, he was asking me what do I recommend against c4, you know, to play the Icelandic gambit or to play c6. And I told him, look, I've always played c6, but the Icelandic gambit's very interesting, you know, so I think that they're both fine. This is a little more positional, you know, c6. And taking on c6, I only had one serious game ever, like with Justin Sarkar when he was pretty young. I beat him with black in this d takes c, knight takes c6. Most people aren't crazy enough to take that pawn, but Sarkar didn't care, so he fought hard but lost. Generally speaking, better not to try to take the pawn. But if you're playing black, the question as to whether to play the Icelandic gambit or c6, it is kind of a tough question, and I don't really, you know, I don't really know what to recommend, to be honest. I mean, they're both playable. It's more risky to play e6, but like World Loser said, you have to take risks, so but if you do play e6, the so-called Icelandic gambit, I think you really, really, really have to memorize a lot of theory, because it's kind of, the compensation is a little sketchy in some lines. You have to really be heavily prepared, I would think. Whereas c6 you can play off the cuff with just logical moves. Let's see what Muleskinner has for me here. We had a game the other day. Right, now there's some question here as to whether black should play knight takes c3 or knight b6. Is there? There's also e6. I learn a lot from you guys, and I also learn a lot from the people I'm teaching. And I think I do private lessons, and I think that it's true that I've been actually at my strongest when I've been teaching a lot, and lately I'm actually learning a lot when I teach my students. And one of the variations that I was going over recently was this. One of my students plays the Caro-Kann, and we were thinking of ways to play against the Panov, you know, that are kind of like dynamic and interesting, because playing for a win as black, or getting at least positions where you have a shot at winning, are not that easy. You know, Muleskinner, there have been multiple Grandmaster games that are drawn after bishop f8, bishop h6, bishop f8, bishop g5, bishop e7, bishop h6, bishop f8, bishop g5, bishop e7. I don't know if you're in the mood for a Grandmaster draw today. I guess in most of these cases, black was like a stronger player and white was scared, so they just like repeated moves. That leads us to another comment which was heard the other day. Someone was talking about quantifying how much, you know, how much being white versus black is really worth. And well, there really isn't a way to quantify it other than by like in terms of rating points, you know. And I remember we said I said 50, but I think we agreed that it was probably less, you know. And the stronger you are, the more it means. So is being white really that big an advantage? You were looking at the Panov. No wonder I struggled so much on Sunday. No, it was after Sunday. We actually analyzed it on Monday, Arsenal fan Richie. So there's no excuses. I mean, my problem with this move is that it's a good move, but the knight ends up on that square. You know, I played this variation for white in the e3. This transposes to an e3 Grunfeld, actually. Knight b6, bishop b3, bishop g7 becomes an e3 variation of the Grunfeld. Now, like, is the onus on me to try to win? Is that what you're telling me? White doesn't have to take a draw here. Some games are drawn, some games are not. White should be a little bit better, but it's not much. If you look at the engine analysis, White's probably like 0.2 centipawns better in this position. It's sort of surprising because you think, well, White's so active, he's got all 4 minor pieces developed, and Black's king, is still 2 moves away from castling. But then again, White's structure is, not perfect. He has an isolated pawn. Interesting. I don't recall seeing this move played. That seems very logical to me. So, do I have anything tricky? Well, we have knight b6, but yeah, and queen d2 looks like a good move. Huh. Further investigations will be required. I'm going to play f6 and give my king a square, which is sort of standard in this line. But it looks like White's better. Queen d2 is an awfully logical move. Not really sure what I'm supposed to do there, other than f6. And still, we're in the experimental stages of playing this line. Castle by hand, as they say. Honestly, I was always skeptical, of playing e6 because it looks like you're creating a lot of weaknesses, and I've played mostly bishop c4, mostly knight b6, or even knight takes knight here. Knight takes knight is fine too. Knight takes knight, knight takes knight, queen b3, or knight takes knight, b takes c. So you already have 2 good moves for me, or black there. Now rook d1. Rook d1 is kind of a neutral move. What are we doing here? Knight e7, I guess. Overprotecting our blockading square and making way for this bishop to get out to c6. White's position looks ominous. I mean, he has all of his pieces developed virtually. Omnivore, ominous, omninous. A 0.6 advantage. 0.6 advantage is a good opening advantage, I would think. All right. You got to get out of there, man. White's slightly better. I don't think I can afford to allow g4 here. This is a serious weakening of my position, though. I mean, h5. Got to be very, very careful here. Kind of a compromising move, knight takes d5, trading pieces. So it's not a bad move by White. but it's also slightly conservative. By trading pieces, he gives up a little bit of his advantage, I think. And now we have a tough situation where I have to be careful about the d5 pawn. My king in the center. Looks like maybe bishop e6 is not really the safest square for my bishop. It can be hit by sacrifices and stuff. What about b6 and bishop b7? b6, bishop a6, bishop c4. Perhaps we should make some other defensive move first. Do we have time for said other defensive moves? I don't know. You know, moving my king to g7 might not be a ridiculous idea at some point either. Getting off that diagonal. But at the same time, we're near the center. We control e7. You know, he could actually sack a piece here, but it's kind of speculative. Ooh. This gives me time to play like rook d8 if necessary. Okay, that's that's not a friendly move, but it's also a very, very risky move for white. I mean, is he gonna play g4 here? Seriously? Maybe he's just making left and sort of teasing me with the idea of that. Is he seriously gonna play g4? Not necessarily right away. Could be dangerous. Should I play h4? Yeah, I mean, it looks risky for white to play g4. And I've got to be careful. Bishop d7. Check, takes. Bishop d7 could be bad. Maybe bishop e6. g4 is not possible. Too risky for white. I would think so. But he's just making sure he doesn't get back rank mated while giving himself this possibility later on. White's still slightly better here. I have to be super careful. Queen e5 makes sense. I'm going to try to... I could play b6. I think this ending is okay. Actually, taking with the pawn on b6 is useful because it controls this support point on c5. That would be a really nasty outpost for a rook or knight for white in general. So I think we're about equal here. But I do have a better king, and I'm not convinced we're not a tiny bit better. How about h4 now? Fixing his pawns on white squares. If I have time to play like g5. Okay, I can't let him on the 7th. No margin for error here. See, that's the point. He can't come to c5 thanks to this pawn on b6. gets his king to the center. Maybe I should do the same. Although I like the d6 square for my knight. In fact, here. We are going to have problems with that if I do that, though. Other factors. Alright. Other factors. Yeah, I like this. This is probably best. Bringing my own king to d6. His knight is awkward. He put his king on d2. There what? He didn't like king d3, bishop d7, bishop b5. He's also preserving the d3 square as a place to go. Now, okay, he's got no infiltration possible. So why should I trade rooks? And I've got g4. But I'm definitely, I stand better here now. So I'm definitely not taking a draw. I'm going to have g4, which is slightly better for black. Now he's g4 take. It's like decisive, I think. It's almost, they're almost mates here. You had that. Master had that. Yeah, we just kind of drifted into the slightly worse ending there. But the opening looked really good. Really good for white. Let's take a look here. So, it's not really commonly played e6 in this move order. It's more common, I guess, a move later. Maybe against queen b3. Yeah, e6 against queen b3 is more common. But here it's not really good, I guess. Bishop c4. I mean, we have two good moves. Knight takes c3 and knight b6. Okay, I thought this was normal, but it's actually inaccurate. I'm hallucinating. This is a different position. Wow. We don't have a transposition here? Huh. It's exactly like a different line. That's weird. The computer says I can play g5 here and rook g8. Crazy. So apparently this is just dubious for me. Queen d2 is strong. He's just got a big advantage, like a full pawn. Wow. I played flawlessly. I'm just hanging on. Wow, that's even the best move. Yeah, h3. Surprisingly difficult for white. Probably not trading queens. And this ending is like equal. Alright guys, interesting game. I messed up. 5 + 5, chess 960, flew crow. Where's all the viewers? We only have 50 viewers today, guys. Come on. What is going on? Chess 960, knight on A1, or H1. That's the worst possible square. Got a fianchetted queen on A1. Tomorrow we're going to be back with 5 + 3, Fast Friday Blitz. Taking the pawn on G4 was bad, but he didn't really have a good move. I mean, he's losing control of D4 there if he moves his knight. I think it's... at that point, he's in serious trouble. What are we doing? Knight G3 at some point? F3, E4 type of setup. Let's just establish our central pawn here. It's terrible. Only 50, and that's the ones that are here. No, we've been up to like 70 most streams lately, so I was just wondering, you know, what was going on, that we're a little bit below the average with the stream. Normally we get up to around 70, 80. It is a pretty early stream. I mean, for European-based players, not everyone likes to tune in at 10 or 11 a.m. So, I hate this knight on H1. We're going to just live with it. Maybe I can trade it off if I'm lucky. I don't like knights on knight 3, and I really... they come from A1. H1, A1, whatever you like. Guys, we're going to end the stream right on time today at 12:30, so I've got to be careful that we don't run over, because I have a number of responsibilities starting at 12:30. Nice move. Well, I know what else I could have done, really. My plan was to unleash my bishops with like F3 and E4, but that's not happening here. G7 is weak, though. If knight F5, knight E6. We're just going to have to play knight E3, I guess, at some point. It doesn't have to be right away. We also have B4. But what am I going to do with my king if I start flailing my pawns at him here? Something to think about. B4 would activate my queen, start a very aggressive style of play. You've got to think about all your pieces and how they harmonize with each other. I've never written a chess book, and I've thought about writing a chess book. I think if I ever did, I want to talk about the concept of coordination of the forces, something that's kind of underrepresented in chess literature. Aura Knight says Queen A1. There are more viewers of the stream than there are chess players in England. I wish, man. Hi, Tiger Limbaum. Hi, Liger Bimbaum says, normally I would be at work right now, but you went home at 9 a.m. after an hour work. You mean I? Thought so. You called in sick just to watch my stream. Typical. Guys, I have a tournament coming up in 2 weeks. We won't be streaming between May the 17th and 26th. Be playing in Zalakaros, Hungary. It's a super strong open tournament, international field of 128 the last time I checked for the A tournament. Minimum rating at the bottom of the list was like 2150, and Richie Rapport was rounding out the top. I'm right in the middle of the field, so I'm either going to get paired up against Rapport or someone of that ilk, or I'm going to play like the lowest rated player in the first round. Last year I played on board 5 in round 1, but my rating was a little bit lower. It looks like pretty much the same field as last year. Not the same players, but the same strength. Really good tournament. Last year it was in June, and they moved it up to May. Like the way the Black has played this. We've got to get our queen in the game. All right, man. I don't know. You know, I mean, this is definitely like risky and weakening, and I feel like I'm playing the Evans Gambit, but you know what? I'm gonna play like a maniac here today with b4. Anything else is kind of passive, and I feel like my queen needs to get in the game. It's not going through a2, so bishop d4 is a nice move. Although I do feel like Black's, you could almost say he's like lagging in development here. Now a5 for Black will be a question. So maybe I should beat him to the punch. Normally I don't like to weaken myself by making tons and tons of expansive pawn moves. I try to play kind of more conservatively. Certain openings I make a lot of pawn moves, like the English closed positions, closed Englishes. It's okay, Sicilian. But you know, I was thinking his queen, you know, is gonna try to activate with a5 anyway. So yeah, we're gonna try to keep him bottled up here. I could even castle kingside theoretically if this is the king side. I don't know what king side is in chess 960. I've mentioned this joke before, but it presents a problem. You know, in normal chess we can always refer to one side of the board or the other based on the position of the king, but this becomes a problem in chess 960. Bishop c5 looks a little time consuming, I would have to say. You know, I'm gonna go with the full d4 now. Wow, that's really, really risky for me, but it could be good. All right, man, I'm gonna call your bluff. You've got very little development, and I have a center. And I guess the plan was rook d1. I want to double check. I like that this move protects d4. It's going to be hard to castle with the bishop on b4. Well, we can castle right now, but I don't really see the benefit of that. I mean, it might be a good move, you know, king b1, rook c1. It's a nice surprise. Actually, it would bring my rook to the open file. We've got the strong center, funky king. Our bishops are still quiet, but we'll see. Mega Master of the Universe. Kind of disappointing being an IM and playing the bottom half. Well, disappointing or like... Disappointing or thrilling, because it's not very many tournaments where you get to do that. You know, you get to be one of the weaker players. I mean, I'm not there to like think about like, it's not like a club tournament where I'm going to collect $100 first place, you know, and all I care about is like getting my money. I mean, this is a tournament where I'm actually happy that I'm one of the weaker players. It's a great experience. Yeah, I thought you would do that. He's got to try to break free, and that could involve an exchange sacrifice on e4. I'm seriously thinking about castling here. My own queen is sort of sad. Castles looks okay, actually. Why can't I castle? Because my rook's on d1. Damn it. I was trying to castle, but I can't because this rook's on d1. I don't play enough chess 160 that sometimes I don't try to do stupid illegal moves. Wow, we're down to 50-something seconds here. Okay. I don't know about this. It's not bad, knight c2, but I am moving backward at the cost of opening up my bishop on g1. His king is definitely more secure than mine. Not really satisfied with this move, to be honest. He's got a lot of pieces on the back rank, then again, so do I. Am I really threatening to take this? Yes. I'm really threatening to take that. We have good control of the center. Bishop f8, looking for bishop h6, it appears. I've got to get out of the situation where my king is on c1. Maybe I should have found a way to castle kingside. How am I going to do that? It's like impossible. Again, this is the king side over here, and this is the queen side over here. I'm not sure. Knight b7. I'm surprised he castled too. Now we're all set. All right. I actually want my king on b1. One of the weirder chess 960 games I've played, I tend to play kind of conservatively, usually. In this game I haven't been making so many pawn moves, especially on the side of the board where my king is likely to go, as is the case here. But to be perfectly frank, I have been intentionally kind of playing against his king as queen, trying to keep it out of the game. Now he's intentionally... Maybe I could play e5 here, huh? We ought to consider it, the possibility. It's a really, really double-edged move, though. I don't think this position could get much more abstract than this. Lately, Plucro likes to sacrifice pieces against me. He had some success with that recently. keeping him prisoner. It's like he wanted me to... What's going on here? I want to keep his queen tied up. That's why I didn't take the knight on c4. Man, dude. Starting to scare the crap out of me. He just doesn't care if he's like down a piece and stuff. He just keeps moving super fast. I've got to be more like that myself. That's hanging. That's what I'm talking about. You just don't care. Just don't care if you're like hanging something. What's the final tally? Fukuro like doesn't care. He's not even counting the pieces. Just moving fast. See? The knight's gotta finally go. You play a lot of bullet? Right. Oh, you have that move? I was like... I didn't think so, you know, but I was shocked by it. Now, only now I realize that it's just dropping. But you missed queen f2. You should play on at this point. You have a pawn for a piece. Queen f2. Why is queen f2 no good? It's not your move. Oh, it's not your move. Right. It's my move. Queen f2. Okay, never mind. I'm outer space here. I forgot he doesn't get to move twice in a row. Don't mind. Don't mind me. Yeah, I really thought... I never saw such science fiction in the chat before, Arsenal fan Richie. I was kind of like... couldn't believe it. Okay, this game we're going to play, and then we'll see how much time we have. You know, if we're down to like 10 minutes, I might just accept Alios's 5+3 challenge. I've got to be out of here at 12:30, so I cannot play 2 20-minute games. Tanager man. Tanager man. That was risky of me to play the game like that. Okay, let's go with kind of classical. This guy's pretty strong. Francais. 2400 in bullet. Never played him before. Wow. So he's like a really serious bullet player. Doesn't play much classical. When I saw his name, I thought it would be like a Russian player. It sounds kind of hard sounding name, Akram. But he's from France or speaks French. Okay. It could mean anything. His name is Roman and he likes ace king. I don't know. AK Rome 4. Main line, King's Indian attack. I don't like playing this move order for black because of one specific thing, which isn't dangerous, but they can play like into a closed Sicilian with e5, or they can transpose to the English with c4. These are lines that I don't particularly like, but here I'm happy that he transposed to a normal King's Indian attack. I'm pretty well prepared for that. Good night, sir. We're just starting to get viewers now that I'm almost done streaming. We have half an hour left. I'm a little short on viewers today. I think it was the nice weather here in Europe. Is it different where you are? We had really, really bad thunderstorms yesterday and here in Budapest. And now it's clear. No, I guess I'm supposed to play h6 here. We worked on this with the late Mark Dvoretsky, personally. He taught me to play this system for black. What White's doing is like totally standard. I don't know like if it's better to play a6 or b6. I've experimented with all different kind of moves in this sort of position. But I think, you know, you see people go like b5 and I don't think it's really necessary. But this kind of player, if you get his rating, like 2400 in Blitz, and you think about the fact that he plays this type of setup, this is probably a sign that this is like all he plays all the time. He's probably like an expert. Mostly people who play the King's Indian attack are kind of really devoted to it. You know, that's like their whole repertoire. People don't just like play it on a lark. I had a long discussion with one of my students about this, by the way. You know, allowing b5, and I play the same type of position with White sometimes in English opening with the reverse of this position. I think I had this exact game against a 2000 player in the US Amateur Team Championship back around like 1998. And it was a little bit odd having my knight on a5, but when we looked at it with the engine maybe a month ago with my other student, we didn't really see much problem with like putting the knight on a5. And there were just a few games in the database. I don't know if it was exactly this position that we analyzed, but something very close. So anyway, this is a little abstract, the knight on a5, and in aforementioned game, maybe he had played b5 before playing knight bd2, because I remember like getting my knight attacked and he doubled my pawns on a5. It was a little bit strange, but not really correct for White. This is different though. I guess I have to just think for myself here, because he's just trying to play like d4 in the center, which is pretty standard actually. So I don't know. Insta takes. It's obviously a very fast and very practical player. There may be some traps. My rook on a long diagonal here. Queen d7, queen a4 poses tactical problems for me. I could consider a6, but then he just plays a4. Excuse me. Strange situation. It feels slow to play rook b8. What else am I going to do? But if this guy really plays the system all the time, and if he routinely plays the move b5, then he's probably had this position on the board before. Because it's a very common system for black to play what I'm playing here. He'd be able to force this position basically against other opponents. I'm definitely a little concerned about my game. He's isolated this knight on a5 as out of play. That's some kind of very special home prep. $22.85, $22.05 in Crazy House. Plays all kinds of variation, not too much, mostly Crazy House. Impressive ratings though, 5,000 bullet games. Though you can play 5,000 bullet games pretty quickly. I don't know how long he's been here on lichess, but I don't like my position. This knight on a5 just got out of play. Very systematic for white. Feels like I fell into some sort of strategic trap here. It feels totally rehearsed to me, to be honest. White's played like perfect setup. And my knight is just embarrassed on a5. Never played this player before, but so far it looks like he's won this game probably 10 times before against other players. Would be my approximation. He's just playing according to preconceived sort of system. I thought that allowing the knight to a5 wasn't a problem, but he's got this all worked out. So it's just bad. Strange. Let's see, h6, b4. And now we have to play a6 then, if that's the case. It's something that I have been debating. I talking about this with one of my students. I've experimented with a6, b5, different kind of setups. Had a positive experience the only time I played this. He's taking a long time on f4, which is kind of weird because it's like practically winning by force. There just like isn't a move for black in this position. It's like Zugzwang, more or less. Perfect position for white. I don't really see a move for black. I have to go here, I guess. I'm just getting slaughtered. Some counterplay with this pin along the file. I'm not sure if he calculated this very deeply. I certainly didn't have too much time to. To check on d5, we can play king h7. So here I have bishop h5, queen b2. There's also knight b3. Bishop takes e5, knight takes e5, queen d4 check. So how do we want to play this? Our knight is out of play. But I feel like this way, he's got a trick, another trick. Bishop takes, knight takes, queen d4 check, queen e3. The ultra convenient defense. Rook takes e5, knight takes e5, queen d4 check. And then like rook e8. I don't know what else to try. Just like a vague tactical chance. Oh, he just did that. Be interesting to analyze this with the computer. I have no idea. I felt I was just completely lost. But after that pin on the e-file, looks like maybe there was a chance for black. Surprised how quickly he went into this. Because he's all calculated it out. Or else it's just a simple practical decision. Maybe just a practical decision. His rooks are really scary. Highly accurate play by white. Now he's threatening knight h5. I thought maybe I could sack my queen here. It's probably lost. Yeah, we're just down a piece, right? Knight b1. Wow, this is an impressive game, dude. Let's check it out. I don't think he's going to have too many center pawn loss here. A3, he does have some center pawn loss at the end. He made a mistake. H6 is main line, so B4, bishop E6. Yeah, so this move, this B5 here he played, it's interesting. It's only played in 3 games out of, let's see, 100. 70, 80, 90, but it's Stockfish's first suggestion. All the grandmasters play bishop b2, rook b1. Stockfish likes b5. But apparently he made a lot of mistakes. But b5 looks like it's a problem. Bishop b2, f5. Maybe f5 is risky, I don't know. Following one game, some randoms. Heinrich Dobos, 1994. Apparently I should play c4. While I have the chance to play it. I was just worried about my b7 pawn, but why doesn't he do like c4 right away then? That's an improvement. He should play c4 right away rather than knight h4. Not give me that chance, and now white's just better. So that's interesting. I guess f5's not a good move for me. Should play something else, anything else with this knight on a5. c4 right away, d4, white's better. Interesting. Godlike moves. We don't have time for these long challenges. I'm going to play one last game against Alios, 5+3. Big Fat Panda, I don't know if that's you, dude. I can't just like pick people out of order. I had to deny these guys who are waiting because 8+3 is too long. So I take the first 5+3 we get, dude. You're last on the list. If Alios is not here, we'll play Aura Knight, who's the next 5+3. But I've got to leave in 10 minutes. Alright. Interesting game by my last opponent. It's curious that Stockfish likes b5 the best. Most players prefer to keep the pawns fluid. You know, keep the options open there. Yeah, I try to take the challenges from last until first. My favorite line against the King's Indian. This is not objectively dangerous for black, but practically speaking, a lot of players who play black in the King's Indian don't feel comfortable if white doesn't play e4. I think a lot of players just don't know how to play if white doesn't go into this normal pawn formation with e4. No, I mean, there were a lot of mistakes last game, but the opening is what's really interesting to me, because it looks like a serious problem for black that's not really known. How many grandmasters have played that position for white? And not too many of them. Only 3 games, masters. Only 3 games did white play b5. And as I told you, I had a game against a very weak player who played that. But I've never had a strong player play b5 against me. And it's something that you worry about, you know. But it's also like weakening to play a move like a6. Black prefers not to make moves like a6. So in the game, it goes to show that there's a lot of things that can go wrong for me in that position. He actually played inaccurately. He should have played c4 right away. instead of knight h4. Giving me time to play c4 myself was a mistake. Alios 1500. Last game, guys, I've got to run shortly, so I'm going to just restrict black on the queen side here. I was concerned that if I play d5, he can play a Benko type of pawn sacrifice. I think it would be pretty good for black. Blaze of Glory says, can't believe it, I wasted the whole stream for my game. You told me you were finishing at 12:30. Alright, dude. That's a cool reaction. You were going to make a donation, but you're not going to make a donation today. Alright, dude. You're a good guy. Thanks a lot. No, what's not cool is people like that. You know, we do this for free, like, every day to try to help everyone, and then you get people, like nasty people who make comments like that. That's unbelievable. Wow. You're absolutely never ever gonna get another game here, dude, so you can be sure of that. There's some history back there, people, so don't worry about it. There's some back history with this person, and we'll just forget about it. Alright, so we are migrating toward kingside play here. I don't think it's a better idea, dude, at all, to have a randomizer. What, somebody who like shows up and waits for 3 hours and doesn't get to play? I think that we do it as fairly as we can. But if I only have 10 minutes left to play, I don't see how I can play a 20-minute game. Maybe somebody else can help me to understand that, right? That would be interesting to know how that can be done. So the angry guy can just play whenever he wants. You know, he feels he should be allowed to play. No, I think it's just outrageous to behave like that. I'm glad I didn't accept his challenge. What a nasty person. Unbelievable. Like, you're entitled under any circumstances to tell someone else what to do, you know, regardless of their responsibilities and stuff like that. It's like he doesn't appreciate anything. Wow. Anyway, black is really, really pressed for space here. Yeah, decline all challenges before the start of the stream. But how does that solve the problem, Plukro? The same problem is going to arise. You know what I mean? The black queen is just trapped here. It doesn't matter whether the challenges were before the stream or after the stream. I mean, at some point there's going to be somebody at the end of the line who's going to say, you screwed me over, you know? It's irregardless, you know, it's going to happen. The last person in line who doesn't get to play is always going to, like, cry and complain. There's no solving that problem, you know? I mean, it's always going to happen. That person just has to be a gentleman about it and accept that. That's the way it was, you know? You were the last one in the queue, they closed the store, and you didn't get to go in. I mean, that's life, you know? And it's very immature to not accept it. So, Barabbas says first in, first out, as fair as it gets. And I can't play a 20-minute game when I have 10 minutes left, you know? It just, that doesn't add up. So, maybe as another idea, but okay. Anyway, guys, sorry about that unpleasantness, but we will be back tomorrow, Friday morning, at 10 a.m. for Fast Friday 5+3 challenges here on lichess. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, and anyway, you know, all you guys are great. We really appreciate spending time with me here and working on some serious chess, playing some good games. Thanks, World Loser, Blue Crow, Sideshow Bob, Music Dan, Bim Bom. You guys are welcome. We'll be back again. Blue Crow, thank you for moderating today. Back tomorrow at 12:30 CET. See you guys then. Bye-bye.